Let's do this. Hello, everyone. This is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the SIP wrap or the summary for the trade war. So, I've decided to do the coverage for the trade war right now because I think a lot of things happening, and and it's is really consequential. This is way more consequential than the Ukraine war. So I think this is important, and this is the new page, the new focus page on the trade war. So we have one for the Ukraine war. So this is the trade war one, and you can see this URL over here. You can actually check it. You can actually check it out yourself. No, I will try to keep it updated and with the best possible information and most accurate information that maybe I can do. So I have this took me super many hours over the past day, and yeah, I learned one big lesson. Don't trust the AI. Oh my freaking god! Yeah, it gave me so much pain. I actually have to redo the whole thing because the freaking AI gave me false information. I can't imagine it. So anyway, so this is the trade war focus page, and you can see there's actually two different maps here. So the first one is a trade balance map for each country around the world. So you can see that like China have a very positive trade balance to the rest of the world, whereas the United States have a horrible and terrible trade balance with the rest of the world. And the second map, this map is the US trade balance map. So you can see US, of course, to themselves is zero. There's no trade balance with itself. But you can see that they have negative trade balance with, let's say, Canada. It's a minus 64 billion. Mexico is minus 171 billion. And then you have China minus 29 million, and Vietnam 123 negative. Like, since when Vietnam is such a huge exporter, right? So, and US buys so much things from it, which is like quite crazy. So I mean, Indonesia is a much bigger country. It's only minus 17. So clearly, this is also one of the countries where Chinese goods goes through to go to United States to avoid tariff, which is also why Vietnam is one of the biggest one of the countries that got hit the worst in the US reciprocal tariff, which is announced on the 2nd of April. And so this you probably have seen by now, and you can see Vietnam is high on the list. They got a 46% tariff on their imports. So this is all done deliberately. Like Cambodia, 49%. All these are done deliberately to stave off Chinese attempt to go around the tariff. So we have all this information here. So this all very convenient. So as of this moment, the trade war is largely being fought with 4 different countries with United States. I mean, European Union is not a country, but it's like an entire bloc. So of course the biggest target is China. US-China is currently ongoing, the biggest trade war, and European Union clearly is retaliating. As a bloc, they are pretty big. Canada and Mexico, of course, is ongoing as well. And there is also some other countries that is pondering whether they want to retaliate or not, which is the ones that got hit the worst, mostly, or rather unfairly, to at least for Brazil's case. They think that the hit of the reciprocal tariff is unfair. Indonesia is mainly because they're a big country. Vietnam and Thailand, they got hit because there's a lot of money involved for them. So Malaysia have not retaliated. Malaysia's position right now is they wanted to create a ASEAN, using the ASEAN as the platform and negotiate as a bloc. Although I have to say it's not gonna work out, because every country of ASEAN is just so different, and they have all very different national interests and trade issues. But let's see, because Malaysia is now the chair of the ASEAN group for this year. So let's see how this goes. So first thing first, let's go into the whole freaking intention. So this is the first SITREP. So we're gonna go into a bit more on the overall macro situation as well as the latest developments. The United States general plan is to reduce the trade deficit. The trade deficit is the biggest problem, the biggest bugbear that Donald Trump have, and the aim is to decrease the trade deficit. And increase the import of American goods to these countries. And the next is to eliminate the non-tariff barriers. So this is actually the biggest problem because it's not so obvious. Where like they say, oh, they are open to free trade. They like China. We open to free trade. We encourage free trade. But within the country, there's a lot of laws that basically makes it impossible for you to do business in the country. So many countries does this, including the EU as well. So and on top of that, there's also, of course, like food safety regulations, the VAT and everything. So all these things are just non-tariff barriers to basically make it impossible or very difficult for American exports. Not just American export, but like any exports, into those countries. So there's and also the one of the main issue United States have is also currency manipulations, where countries over devalue their currencies to gain unfair advantage, basically allowing their goods to be sold below cost price. And also this is something that the United States also want to resolve. This is also something that many countries does, but also particularly China, again, which is why it's the main target. And finally, of course, reciprocal tariff. This is something that the Trump administration basically wants to do. Generally, is actually also a universal import tax that the United States will forever going to do now. Like they're going to have this 10% at minimum for all imports into United States to basically have this privilege of earning US money, something like this. That's the plan. So on this page you also find the first trade war between United States China and the timeline. Hopefully this is actually accurate. But it's a pretty long one. This is a separate column because this is not entirely relevant to what's happening right now, but it's important to note that there is this very long history, and then these are the current ones. So I'm not going to go through every single point by point. You can go and read it yourself. So let's take a look at the current latest situation since the reciprocal tariff has been hit. So we have this the tariff. The one on the Chinese one is actually pretty significant because they have already imposed 20% prior to this Liberation Day tariff, and they added another 34% on top of the 20, essentially raising the tariff to up to 54%. So China, of course, being China, responded by by hitting back at 34%. China is basically the only country right now that actually fought back in a very serious way. The only one that actually have no retaliation, real retaliation. Like EU is still like not here, not there. They're still like pondering. China is basically go all into retaliation. So we have to understand their mentality right now. So the Chinese basically say that if war is what US wants, be it a tariff war, trade war, or any other type of war, they're ready to fight to the end. That's basically the Chinese mentality. But why? Why is the Chinese so combative? If you have watched my previous video about the $1 trillion import surplus by China, but yet it's still not enough, you probably will understand my position on this. China's economy have a lot of problems right now. They have massive debt. Many is unaccounted, especially in the provincial and city level. It's all grey debts. and on top, and their housing bubble is already burst. There's a lot of issues, a lot of problems within the economy. There's unemployment. A lot of graduates cannot find a job. No, so the situation is serious within China, but it's not as well known. And when anyone try to tell, or inform about it, people who are getting more and more pro-China just dismiss it as propaganda. The situation is real. As I mentioned in that $1 trillion surplus, the import surplus video, I already mentioned that that China really needed the trade. They must have this export to continue, and in fact to continue to grow, because the problems just continue to slowly grow and they really need to keep it up. At a very high number is fine. China can still sustain, everything can still look like normal, but this tariff is going to threaten China into going into serious economic problems, and which is why China cannot step down. They cannot just accept the tariff. So, and then they decided to fight back because they have to look strong as well at the same time. And they have built up a strong military. So, this also where, the chance of war has increased, especially in regards to Taiwan, up to 50%, because it is invading Taiwan can be the black swan event that China really needed in order to totally disrupt this entire Trump's plan to reform the entire global trading and economic system. This has happened in the first term. In the first term, if you look through the history, in January 2020, January 15, you can see that there is this trade deal that was actually being signed between Trump administration and China, which is the phase 1 of this China-US trade deal. And this phase 1 is a very minimal one. It's just simply China buying more of US goods, because phase 2 is very brutal. You wanted China to open up further and reform some of its economic system and whatnot. So this phase 2 will never reach there. So they signed the phase 1 to just to get things moving and just to placate Donald Trump. However, what happened in January 2020 as well? COVID-19. COVID-19 is the other major thing that was happening then. It was by January 15, the Chinese has already 100% realized that the COVID, which was not known as COVID at that time, it was still known as Wuhan virus or China virus, was spreading from human to human, but the WHO still have not announced it as what it is, because China was like manipulating and controlling WHO at that time, and they deliberately sent out information through WHO to discourage any closure of borders, any limitation in terms of flights. Despite that, within China itself, they have literally already shut down basically everything, and then the whole aim is that they want the virus to be exported overseas so that it become a pandemic, so that they can basically disrupt the entire flow of what Donald Trump was trying to do, and basically put a reset button on whatever is happening, and it worked. So basically, the economic and trade basically shut down overnight, not overnight, over a month, and Donald Trump got kicked out. He failed to retain his presidency because of COVID-19, generally speaking. So, and China, because of it, also able to escape, and they generally did not even buy more. They basically did not adhere to the trade deal. They just get off. And they probably never expected Trump to come back, and yet he's back. So that's where we are today. So Trump in a way is back on a vengeance in a way to really to do whatever he really want to do to resolve this China problem that in Donald Trump's mind that which exists. which is why he started early this time round. He know that he do not have enough time. Like in the first term, this thing dragged on for so long that this tariffing and this negotiation dragged on for so long. It reached to the last year of his presidency, and he cannot see it through. Which is why Donald Trump now do it immediately. Within the first month, he already started to dump the 20% on China. This is how it all started, so that he now have 4 years to play with China. That is the whole idea of what's currently happening. So, and the latest we have is that China, of course, though, as I mentioned, retaliated with 34%, and Trump have threatened that if China do not back down, Trump is going to slap another 50% on top. And of course, China cannot back down. As I said, they can't. The problem is not about whether China will want to or not want to. They just cannot. They cannot accept and play along, because they cannot. They rather go down in the blaze of fire and take the chance to reform and go on their own reform of the international trade system towards themselves, towards China. So there is now a trade war, not just between two countries, deciding how the trade should go, but it's basically to see who can wrestle control over the entire of the trading system. And then this is also why I have the other video on the chance of war increasing, because if China cannot get out of this, then they need another black swan event. COVID-19 was that black swan event in Trump's first term, but now we're not necessarily going to have another virus appearing. What is the other black swan event that China could use to disrupt Trump's plan and to get out of this conundrum? They can actually invade Taiwan. That is actually one massive black swan event. It will disrupt whatever trading there is around the world. It's going to be very COVID-like. You're going to disrupt everything. On top of that, China basically, if this tariffing and if Trump going to manipulate the whole world into not trading or reduce trade with China, then China is as good as there's no more reasons to hold back anymore. Then going to war makes sense. Taking back Taiwan after so many years makes sense. And on top of and doing that also will able to disrupt Trump's internal politics within the United States. It will cause Trump to lose the midterm. The Republican Party is going to struggle to hold both upper and lower house in the midterm, because Trump basically fails to fulfill his campaign promises to not go into needless wars and to be pro-peace. So if this entire trade war resulted in a massive war between United States and China over Taiwan or Philippines or whatnot, then Trump is likely to suffer during the midterms, and that would actually help China to get out of this entire system, because of this entire situation. And Trump's entire reform of United States is going to hit a massive hiccup. On top of that, it will also test the allies, the US Asia Pacific allies, or partners like Japan, South Korea, Philippines, Australia, New Zealand. Will they actually help and fight alongside the Americans to save Taiwan? If they don't, then United States will literally lose its prestige, literally immediately lose its global leadership. So there is a lot to play on this, and China basically, has reached a point where, if you have to fight, now is the best time. Something like this. I have already explained a lot more in the other video, so you can check it out about the increasing chance of Chinese invasion of Taiwan. So, but coming back to this trade war, the US has implemented the 50% tariff as of now. This now raised the Chinese import to 104%, which means that this is the highest tariff level the US have ever planted on China. Tentatively, at this moment, I haven't seen the information about China's retaliation against this 50%, but almost certainly China is going to retaliate. And this is going to lead to what I said in that Taiwan projection video about China going to invade Taiwan, that eventually there will be a ultimate cutting of trade between United States and China. This is something that I also mentioned before in other videos in the past, that this is unavoidable. One day, the world will have to cut trade with China due to the way how the Chinese economic system works. And however, I also always say that it's very, very difficult because most countries do not have the leverage to really dare to do something like this, even if it's to the detriment of their economy. And China and United States now is leading the way. So these are all very serious things. No, it's not a joke. So we shall see. No, I want to explain. No, trade balances are very, very serious things. According to Wired's, my economic theory, trade is very zero sum. Generally speaking, when you have no money offlowing to your country, like to Russia and China, generally you are getting richer and richer and richer, and you will do better and better. And this is also how China's infrastructure all looks so good. The buildings, the high-rise buildings, the towers, the high-speed train, all these things can be done because they constantly have massive high trade balances with the rest of the world. On the flip side, you have United States, which for decades have not been able to have any positive trade balance. They have consistently have negative trade balance, and you can literally see it as the quality, the conditions of cities going down and down and down. So what is the worst situation? But the United States, of course, is a unique country because they have the reserve currency. The best way to know how bad, if you constantly have negative trade balance will do to your country, look no further to Haiti. So Haiti have constantly have very negative trade balance with the rest of the world, and you basically can see how Haiti has become pretty much what people call the shithole, and they cannot climb out of it. They literally just cannot climb out of it. And you have other countries similarly, like Turkey. We already know that they are in serious political troubles, serious economic troubles. So, and also India. India is, you can see that they also tremendously bad trade balances, and that's also how India also seems to always struggle to bring up its lower level, the lower economic levels. Unlike China generally able to push everybody up, but India struggles with it. So these trade balances are very serious issues. If you're always negative, like Philippines, then yeah, poverty is a reality in your country. So the trade war with China is for sure is ongoing. With the Europeans, in terms of the European situation, so after the there's a 20% on EU. Okay, so EU call it catastrophic, and Ursula von der Leyen has said that they are planning some countermeasures, and the US and by the 5th of April, the tariff actually take effects, and it affects all sort of things. EU have $532 billion worth of export now at risk. So the latest development over the past 2-3 days was that the EU actually offered a 0-for-0 tariff deal. It was entirely rejected actually, because that's not what they want. Because immediately, the Trump administration basically say that you buy the entire deficit worth of energy from United States, they accept the 0-for-0 trade deal. of course, the EU have not accepted that. So that's the current situation with the EU. Yeah, this one need to some update a bit. This is missing some information. That's why I say no about the AI problem, right? No, and let's take a look at the Mexico and Canada situation. Though they have some quite some history, which some of it I have reported already as with specific videos. The latest situation between Mexico, Canada, United States is not as bad. It seems to be alright. So for Canada, it's a bit worse than Mexico. So we have, of course, the tariff. In this announcement on the so-called Liberation Day, Canada and Mexico is not on the list. So what happens is that because they have already their separate trade war that was already ongoing, so the tariff is for non-USMCA goods. So USMCA goods will continue to be zero tariff, which means that the USMCA free trade agreement continues to have effect. So that's very, very important. So so as much as on the overall macro scale, it's easy to forget that. But it's interesting that the USMCA, which is actually negotiated by Trump himself in the first term, looks like it's going to hold, at least for now. So otherwise, non-compliant is going to be 25%. And if Canada can deal with the drug and immigration issue, the United States is willing to reduce it. But it doesn't seem like that they Canada satisfied the Americans. So actually, as of today, it's going to be 25%. There is no discount. So Canada have been attacking, through the WTO. They have filed dispute over WTO. I don't think it's going to work. Trump have no regards for international organizations. So like all these multinational organizations, he don't give a damn about them. So I don't think it's going to work out. And WTO without United States is not WTO. So so that is the conundrum on that thing. For the Mexico situation, Mexico is actually pretty satisfied with the situation. So you can see the last thing was on March 6th. And then after that, there's only 2 more points. So we have, of course, the Liberation Day. So as I mentioned, non-USMCA products are the one that is getting tariffed 25%. And US also, on top of that, imposed another 25% on Mexican automobiles and parts. However, that's the full extent of it. And the Mexican president is very happy, celebrating this as a win for Mexico, as most of the Mexico's market access continues to stay. So Mexico generally is a safe. It's a big safe. And in reaction, also, probably she knows that the president knows that this is the new reality. They have unveiled the Plan Mexico. So this is to improve domestic production of food and energy, so that they can avoid and they avoided further retaliation against the United States. So it looks like if USMCA holds, then I think Mexico will be pretty happy, generally speaking. But there is no guarantee USMCA will continue to hold effect for the whole of the Trump's term, or so-called indefinitely, because ultimately Trump have his own ideas about how he want to force all the manufacturing back to the United States. So USMCA is actually under threat. Trump may cancel it in the near future. We shall see how this continues to play out. So this is the current situation of the trade war. I will continue to monitor and keep you guys updated of the latest situation in the trade war. Tentatively, the big battle is, of course, between United States and China, with European unions now looking whether they will double down on it. Canada is ongoing with the third smaller war, and Mexico one looks like it's going to not be a war very soon. Like I said, as long as USMCA holds, then maybe Mexico will stop. Will not go into. Will basically effectively not in a trade war with United States. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. So hopefully this is interesting to you, and hopefully this website, this webpage is going to be useful for you. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm very vexed whether which channel should this video be on. Yeah. So tentatively, I think I will be putting this on the DPA News channel. Yeah, because the main channel is full of people who just want to see Ukraine war. But we shall see how this goes. So thank you for watching. Press the like button, subscribe, and subscribe. If this is on the DPA News channel, subscribe, because this is a new channel, it's a small channel. I need your support. And I'll see you guys in the next update.